There's something sitting in your refrigerator right now that you plan to reheat for lunch or dinner today. You've done it 100 times. It's practical. It's economical. It's what most people do. And if you're over 60, there's a specific chemical reaction that happens the moment you put certain foods back in the heat. A reaction your body becomes significantly less equipped to neutralize with each passing decade. One that has now been directly linked to pancreatic cancer risk in multiple large-scale studies. Not as a distant theoretical risk, as a documented, mechanistic, avoidable connection that almost no one has explained to you. I want to explain it to you today. My name is Dr. Elena Marsh. I've spent more than 20 years in clinical medicine, and the single pattern I've watched repeat itself in charts, in waiting rooms, in conversations families have too late, is this. The damage was already happening, quietly, for years, and nobody connected the dots in time. The pancreas is one of the most forgiving organs in your body, until it isn't. Pancreatic cancer has a 5-year survival rate of under 12%. Not because it's inherently untreatable, but because by the time most people find out they have it, it has already moved. The window for intervention is small. The signals that something is wrong are almost invisible. And the dietary triggers, completely unaddressed in a standard 10-minute appointment. A 2021 analysis published in Nutrients, a peer-reviewed journal of nutritional science, identified thermally degraded food compounds as a consistently underexamined variable in gastrointestinal cancer risk, specifically in adults over 55. The mechanisms involved are not rare. They occur in ordinary kitchens with ordinary foods on ordinary Tuesday evenings. That's why we're here. Quick question before we go further. Have you reheated any of these 5 food categories in the last 7 days? Don't guess yet. Type yes or no in the comments right now. I read every single one. What I'm about to walk you through is not a list of exotic chemicals in industrial food processing. These are foods that sit in your refrigerator right now, foods that are genuinely nutritious the first time you eat them, foods that, under the right conditions, reheated at the wrong temperature, stored for the wrong number of hours, combined with the wrong preparation method, undergo a chemical transformation your pancreas is the first organ to pay for. The pancreas doesn't announce its distress. There's no obvious pain in the early stages, no fever, no alarm. It continues doing its job, producing digestive enzymes, regulating blood sugar, managing insulin output, while the cumulative chemical burden silently accumulates over months and years. Here's what changes after 60. Your liver's capacity to metabolize heterocyclic amines, the carcinogenic compounds formed when certain proteins are reheated, decreases measurably with age. Your antioxidant enzyme systems, which neutralize reactive oxygen species generated by oxidized fats, become less efficient. And your pancreatic cells, which replicate more slowly than almost any other cell type in your body, become more vulnerable to mutagenic compounds precisely because they have less redundancy, less built-in capacity to repair damaged DNA before it replicates. This is not aging as abstraction. This is a specific biological reason why what you reheat after 60 is not the same risk calculation it was at 40. Let's start with the first food on this list. And I want you to understand not just what it does, but exactly why your body responds the way it does. Food 1, rice. Cooked rice is one of the most dangerous foods to reheat incorrectly. And it has nothing to do with the rice itself. It has to do with what colonizes it the moment it begins to cool. Bacillus cereus is a spore-forming bacterium naturally present in uncooked rice. Cooking kills the active bacteria, but it does not destroy the spores. Those spores survive. And when cooked rice sits at room temperature, even for as little as 2 hours, those spores germinate, multiply, and begin producing a toxin called cereulide. Cereulide is heat stable. That means reheating the rice does not destroy it. You are eating a toxin that your microwave cannot touch. In the short term, cereulide causes nausea and vomiting. But the more relevant mechanism for long-term exposure is what cereulide does at the cellular level. It disrupts mitochondrial function, specifically the electron transport chain in cells lining the gastrointestinal tract. Repeated low-level mitochondrial disruption in pancreatic adjacent tissue creates a chronic inflammatory environment. And chronic inflammation of the tissue surrounding the pancreas is one of the most well-established precursors to pancreatic ductal adenocarcinoma, the most common and most lethal form of pancreatic cancer. The fix is not to stop eating rice. It's to cool it rapidly after cooking, refrigerate it within 1 hour, and reheat it only once to a full internal temperature of 165 degrees Fahrenheit. We will come back to this in the protocol. Food 2. Eggs. Eggs are a nutritional cornerstone for adults over 60. High-quality protein, choline for brain function, lutein for eye health. But the moment you reheat a cooked egg, scrambled, hard-boiled, in a frittata, in a breakfast casserole, the protein structure undergoes a process called secondary denaturation. Primary denaturation is what happens when you cook the egg the first time. The proteins unfold and set. Secondary denaturation, caused by reheating, breaks down those proteins into smaller fragments that include oxidized cholesterol compounds and at higher temperatures produce low levels of heterocyclic amines. Heterocyclic amines are the same class of carcinogenic compounds formed in overcooked meat. They are direct DNA mutagens. A study published in Cancer Epidemiology, Biomarkers and Prevention, a journal of the American Association for Cancer Research, found that regular dietary exposure to heterocyclic amines was associated with a statistically significant increase in pancreatic cancer risk, with a dose-response relationship. The more frequent the exposure, the stronger the association. For adults over 60, the implication is direct. Eggs reheated at high temperatures, or repeatedly, are no longer the same food you cooked that morning. Food 3. Processed meats. This one carries the heaviest chemical burden of the 5. Bacon, sausage, deli ham, hot dogs, foods that are already preserved with sodium nitrite, undergo a secondary transformation when reheated that produces nitrosamines. Here is the mechanism. Sodium nitrite, used as a preservative and color fixative in processed meats, reacts with secondary amines, naturally occurring compounds in the meat's protein, when exposed to heat above 130 degrees Fahrenheit. The result is N-nitrosamines, a class of compounds classified by the International Agency for Research on Cancer as probable human carcinogens, with specific evidence linking them to pancreatic tissue damage. The first time you cook bacon, the nitrosamine formation is already occurring. The second time, when you reheat it the next morning, you are concentrating those compounds in the same serving and exposing pancreatic cells to a cumulative chemical load their repair systems were not designed to absorb repeatedly. This is not a reason to eliminate all processed meat from your life. It is a precise, specific reason to never reheat it. Eat it fresh. Once. The chemistry changes the moment you apply heat a second time. Food 4. Spinach and leafy greens. This is the one that surprises people most, and it is the one most worth pausing on. Spinach, chard, kale, and beet greens are high in nitrates. Dietary nitrates, in their original form, are not harmful. They are actually beneficial for cardiovascular function. Your body converts them into nitric oxide, which dilates blood vessels and reduces blood pressure. But when leafy greens are cooked, cooled, and reheated, especially in a microwave, bacterial activity during the cooling period converts those nitrates into nitrites. And nitrites, under heat, follow the same pathway as processed meat preservatives. They combine with amines in the food matrix and form nitrosamines. The bitter irony is that you are reheating spinach specifically because it is healthy. The mechanism doesn't care about your intentions. It responds to temperature, time, and chemistry. And the result is a compound your pancreas cannot distinguish from the one in yesterday's breakfast sausage. Eat leafy greens fresh. If you cook them, eat them immediately. Do not store and reheat. Food 5. Potatoes. Reheated potatoes carry a different but equally significant risk. When starchy foods, potatoes, sweet potatoes, parsnips, are cooked and then reheated at high temperatures, particularly in an oven or air fryer above 250 degrees Fahrenheit, they produce acrylamide. Acrylamide forms through the Maillard reaction, the same browning process that makes roasted potatoes golden and crisp. The first cook produces it. The second cook, applied to a surface that has already undergone the Maillard reaction, produces significantly higher concentrations. The World Health Organization has classified acrylamide as a probable human carcinogen. Research published in the International Journal of Cancer identified a positive association between dietary acrylamide exposure and pancreatic cancer risk, with the association strongest in non-smoking adults, meaning this is not a risk diluted by other lifestyle factors. It stands on its own. You have eaten these foods your whole life. Someone should have told you this years ago. They didn't. Now you know. That is not a reason for panic. It is a reason for one specific, permanent change in how you use your kitchen. And that change is exactly what I'm going to give you now. Has your doctor ever explained any of these connections to you? Write never or yes in the comments right now. Stay with me, because what comes next addresses all 5 of these mechanisms in a single daily protocol. No supplements, no cost, just a precise set of habits you can begin using today. The protocol is next. Here is exactly what I want you to do, starting today. This is called the 5-Food Kitchen Reset Protocol. It has 4 steps. Each one is free. Each one takes less than 2 minutes to implement, and each one directly interrupts one of the chemical mechanisms we just walked through. At the exact point in your kitchen routine where the damage begins. This is not a list of things to avoid forever. It is a precise set of decisions about how you handle specific foods after the first cook. The difference between a dangerous plate and a safe one is not what you buy. It is what you do in the 48 hours after the food leaves the stove. Step 1. The 1-hour refrigeration rule. The moment a cooked meal is finished, rice, potatoes, any dish containing eggs or leafy greens, set a timer for 60 minutes. That is your window. After 60 minutes at room temperature, bacterial spore germination accelerates exponentially in starchy and protein-rich foods. Bacillus cereus, the organism responsible for cereulide production in reheated rice, reaches toxin-producing colony densities fastest between the temperatures of 50 degrees Fahrenheit and 122 degrees Fahrenheit. Room temperature in most American homes sits directly in that range. You are not waiting for the food to feel warm before refrigerating it. You are racing a biological clock that starts the moment cooking stops. The instruction: within 60 minutes of finishing cooking, divide leftovers into shallow containers, no more than 2 inches deep, and place them directly in the refrigerator. Shallow containers allow the food to cool through its entire volume quickly, dropping below the bacterial growth threshold within 90 minutes. Deep containers trap heat at the center and extend the danger window by hours. The timing: 60 minutes from stove to refrigerator, every time, without exception. This single habit eliminates the primary mechanism behind reheated rice toxicity and significantly reduces nitrosamine formation in stored leafy greens. Step 2. The single reheat rule. Every food on this list becomes more chemically complex with each heating cycle. Heterocyclic amines concentrate. Acrylamide compounds accumulate. Nitrosamine load increases. The dose-response relationship identified in the cancer epidemiology, biomarkers, and prevention study was not theoretical. It was directly proportional to frequency of exposure. The rule is absolute and simple. Reheat any food only once. If you cook a large batch of rice on Sunday, portion it before it goes into the refrigerator. Each portion gets reheated once and eaten in full. The remainder stays cold until the next meal and is then reheated once from cold directly to serving temperature. It is never reheated from warm. It is never reheated twice. The biological mechanism: every reheat cycle generates a new round of Maillard reactions in starchy foods, a new round of protein oxidation in eggs and meat, and a new opportunity for residual bacterial activity in improperly cooled foods to contribute to the nitrite pool available for nitrosamine formation. One cycle is a manageable chemical event. Two or more cycles are a compounding burden your pancreatic cells are absorbing without your awareness. The timing: this is a decision made before you reheat, not after. The moment you open the refrigerator, commit to the portion you are taking and the fact that it will be fully consumed. What stays in the container stays cold. Step 3. The temperature and method rule for potatoes. Acrylamide formation in reheated starchy foods is directly governed by two variables: temperature and surface moisture. The Maillard reaction that produces acrylamide accelerates sharply above 248 degrees Fahrenheit and accelerates further as surface moisture decreases, which is why oven-roasted and air-fried potatoes carry a significantly higher acrylamide load than steamed or microwaved ones. When reheating leftover potatoes, the method matters more than the convenience. The instruction: reheat potatoes and other starchy root vegetables using steam or microwave, never oven or air fryer. If you are using a microwave, add 1 tablespoon of water to the dish before covering and heating. This preserves surface moisture, suppresses the Maillard reaction, and keeps the internal temperature below the acrylamide formation threshold. If you prefer oven reheated potatoes for texture, limit the temperature to 300 degrees Fahrenheit maximum and cover the dish with foil for the first 15 minutes to trap moisture before the surface is exposed to dry heat. The biological mechanism: moisture on the food surface competes with the carbonyl-amine reaction that initiates acrylamide synthesis. A dry surface at high heat is the precise condition that drives acrylamide concentrations to the levels identified in the International Journal of Cancer Research. Moisture interrupts that condition at the source. The timing: this decision takes 30 seconds before the food goes into heat. It costs nothing. It changes the chemistry of what you eat. Step 4. The processed meat elimination rule for leftovers. This step is the most straightforward of the 4 and the one with the least flexibility. Processed meats, bacon, sausage, deli ham, hot dogs, smoked meats preserved with sodium nitrite, should not be stored and reheated under any circumstances. The nitrosamine formation pathway in these foods begins the first time heat is applied. The preservative chemistry that gives these products their shelf life and color is the same chemistry that reacts with protein amines under heat to produce N-nitrosamines. That reaction has already occurred in the food you ate this morning. A second application of heat does not restart the clock. It advances it, concentrating the compounds that are already present and generating new ones from the protein matrix that was partially degraded in the first cook. The instruction: cook processed meats fresh, in the quantity you will eat immediately. Do not refrigerate cooked bacon to reheat tomorrow. Do not save sausage from Sunday's breakfast for Monday's eggs. If you are cooking for the week, substitute fresh proteins: eggs cooked that morning, fresh ground turkey, canned fish, for any dish that would otherwise use reheated processed meat. The biological mechanism: N-nitrosamines formed in reheated processed meat are absorbed directly through the gastrointestinal mucosa and enter portal circulation, meaning they reach the pancreas before they reach any other organ involved in detoxification. The pancreas is, anatomically, the first major organ in the line of fire. The timing: This is a grocery and meal planning decision. Make it once at the store or when planning your week. It requires no additional time in the kitchen, only a shift in which proteins you prepare in advance and which you cook fresh. 4 steps. 1 protocol. No equipment, no cost. The 5-food kitchen reset protocol does not ask you to stop eating any of the foods on this list. It asks you to handle them differently, based on the specific chemistry of what heat, time, and storage do to their molecular structure. That knowledge now belongs to you. And it changes every meal you prepare from this point forward. You came into this video not knowing that the foods sitting in your refrigerator right now, rice, eggs, spinach, processed meat, potatoes, undergo a precise chemical transformation the moment heat is applied a second time. You didn't know that your body's capacity to neutralize those compounds decreases measurably after 60. And you didn't know that the pancreas, silent, unannounced, invisible in its distress, is the first organ to absorb the cost. Now you know all 3. The research exists. The mechanisms are documented. The protocol is free, immediate, and starts in your kitchen today. What changes from this moment forward is not your diet. It is your awareness. And awareness applied consistently is the most powerful clinical intervention I have ever seen. You did not need a specialist appointment to receive this information. You needed 20 minutes. You used them well. There is someone in your life, a spouse, a sibling, a close friend, who reheated rice or bacon this week and has never once thought about what that second round of heat does inside their body. This video can reach them before it matters. Share it with someone you love, not for this channel. Because the information their doctor never had time to give them is right here. And now it can find them. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do that now. And hit the bell so you don't miss what comes next. Every week I bring you honest, research-based information about what your body needs after 60. The information I wish every patient had before they ended up sitting across from me. This channel exists because 10 minutes in an exam room is never enough. You deserve more than 10 minutes. Subscribe so you never miss it. Everything I've shared today is based on published research and more than 2 decades of clinical experience. It is not a substitute for your personal medical care. The 5 foods we discussed, the chemical mechanisms behind them, and the 4 steps of the 5-food kitchen reset protocol. Bring all of it into your next appointment. Your doctor knows your history. This information belongs in that conversation. That is exactly where good medicine begins, and where it should always begin. Take care of yourself. I'll see you in the next video.